suppression.
Hey, what's up? This is Coach Box. Today I got a video on 10 ways to wrestle tougher. Many people come up with videos on, training methods, nutrition, what things to do in the practice room. If you haven't done the right things leading up to the point of the match, probably you're not going to be in the best position, to step up and win that match. But let's say you're going up against a guy who's also done that preparation, who's also ready. How do you separate yourself from this person? Going into that wrestling match, you're in the top 5 in the state. You're going up against that number 1 guy, that number 2 guy, right? Or somebody who's trying to take your spot, take your ranking away from you, number 10 ranked guy. So here's 10 things that I believe will help you wrestle mentally tough and get the job done, during your match with a tougher opponent. Okay, number 1 is wrestling through each position. Okay, giving nothing up easy. This is something I really highlight when I coach my wrestlers, is that a lot of the time, it's not necessarily knowing the position all the time. Obviously we train to get these positions down so that we don't have to think about them, during a wrestling match. But once you reach a certain level, you should be pretty comfortable with, most positions. And if you're not, a lot of the time you just fight, right? You give nothing up easy. There's always something to grab a hold of. A guy takes a shot on you and he catches you off guard. You can't necessarily sprawl. Right, be ready for it, right? Crossface him, force that sprawl, force that angle, do anything you can, right? Be stubborn, be mean, and don't give anything up easy. A lot of the guys who are at the top level, they get put out of position and they just claw their way back into position just because they know that if you fight through a position longer than the other person, chances are you're going to do better. 10 ways to wrestle tougher, number 2. Finish every period on the top. This is something that's huge. When I was competing, I had a plan in my head. I wanted to finish the first period either 4-1 or 6-2, right? That would mean, I got multiple takedowns and I ended the period on top and did not let him get that extra escape point to finish the period. Right? You, especially in college, you want to get that extra bit of riding time because it's going to help you. Multiple top 10 opponents that I beat in the NCAA, I beat several of them with that riding time. And it was because, once I got that takedown, I would finish the period in the top position. Then it also adds to, mentally putting it on your opponent, right? If you take him down, ride him out, then you ended the period on your terms, right? Not his terms. If he gets an escape, then you're back in that neutral position. He's feeling a little bit better, right, than if you ended that period on top. Well, this brings me to rule number 3. Do not hesitate on the bottom. You never want to end a period on the bottom. It's very important that you get up and out, get that extra point, and then also get, that confidence, that little bit of confidence that you got out, especially early on in the match. If he can't hold you early on in the match, chances are, statistically speaking, he won't ride you if you choose down, right? So that's another point. Then you're right back in the match. Either way, whether you're on top, bottom, neutral, rule number 4, wrestle through the end of each period, okay? There's too many guys who just sit there, wait the last 30 seconds. I'll wait to shoot my shot until that next period. Those shots won't always be there. Be constantly looking to score, right? You look at some of the best trying to dominate, right? They're going after moves. They're looking for positions. Even if you don't score, you're making your opponent uncomfortable. He's not going to be having any fun. Number 5, wrestling on the edge of the mat. Okay. Now, when I say wrestle on the edge of the mat, what I don't mean is that you back up and wait on the edge of the mat. Okay. That is not how I like to wrestle. A lot of coaches consider that to be stalling, right? If you're hanging out on the edge with your back to the edge of the mat, right, waiting to get an easy score and then go out of bounds, right? That's not necessarily a good way to wrestle, playing the edge, so to speak. When you are on the edge of the mat, though, you're not just looking to get out of bounds. You keep wrestling the whole time. Too many good wrestlers give up points on the edge. In high school, who knows how they're going to call the edge of the mat rule. They're supposed to call it consistently, but, I'm a head college wrestling coach. These refs just do not call it consistently. Okay, so wrestle until you're very sure that there's that you are out of bounds or that the action is stopped. Number 6, control the tempo of this match, right? And by controlling the tempo, I mean you control the pace. So if you stand there for the first 45 seconds and you're just kind of defending, you're not looking for, your offensive tie-ups, then you've wasted a big chunk of the match, not getting to the things that make you good in the first place. Okay, you're only as good as you're able to show on the mat. This is one of the main things, and I'll touch on this in another video, but there's not really good versus not good in wrestling. I mean, sure there is, right? But what does that actually mean? Once you've done something and got yourself ranked or whatever, yeah, that's an indication that you've done well, right? And people may consider you good. But if you can't go out and do these things that got you to this position in the first place, or you won't maintain the status of being good. This leads me into my next point, number 7. Get to your tie-ups, setups, and attacks, and don't be a target. Think of David Taylor, right? Nobody can stop him because he controls his hand movement. He controls his tie-ups, his setups. He's constantly looking for those openings, right? He's in good defensive position, right? He's not recklessly pursuing offense, but he's not a target. He's not just sitting there. And because he's able to do these things consistently, and because he knows that every match he's going to go in here and do this, that chances are, he's going to do well. Okay, number 8. So this is a big one, especially for high school and college age wrestlers. Controlling your body language. When you have good body language, or if you have bad body language, right, you're sending your opponent a signal on the status of how you're doing mentally or physically. Something as simple as if, you get taken down and you put your head down on the mat and feel sorry for yourself, even for a split second. A good wrestler is going to pick up on that cue that you're giving them, and it's going to make them feel more confident in what they're doing, and they're going to think that they have you on the ropes, because they probably do, right? If you're at the point in the match where you're showing these signs to your opponent, probably it's not going to go too well for you. You also convince yourself, right? Having good body language, regardless of what the score is, have a poker face, right? Don't show them that you're tired. And this is even true when you get off the mat. Nothing bothers me more as a coach than having my athletes lay on their back on the edge of the mat, exhausted, get off into the back room, then recover the way you're supposed to. Get a cool down, get a jog. But again, showing your opponent any sort of body language that's not positive, or that makes you show weakness, or show that you're tired, or show that you're upset or angry or frustrated, right? This is all stuff that's just going to feed his mindset. Okay, number 9, don't let anyone up easily. I was very good on top in college when I could wrist ride people, when I could get my tilts and my turns. I was able to turn lots of really highly ranked opponents because my tilts and turns were so good. However, my mat return game, wasn't as good as it could be. And that's one thing that I wish I would have focused on a little more. Having the mental strength to be able to cut somebody on your terms, right? Making them feel that pressure, putting hands on them, putting your weight on the back of their head as they're trying to stand up. You definitely don't want to let somebody up uncontested, right? If you let them up easy, you just kind of gently let them back up, they're right back in your face a lot of the time. You just gave them a second chance. Now they're on their feet. They don't feel like they're being ridden anymore, so they're going to have a lot more energy. If that guy stands up, you pick him up, slam him right back down, then you put your hands all over him, put your hands on the back of his head, then let him up. That's a different story, right? This guy's going to feel like you put him there because you are in control and you wanted to bring him back up to his feet so that you could take him down again. You watch guys in college like Kyle Dake, Sean Garrett. If you stood up, he would plant you back down on the mat, let you up, and then double leg you again. Okay, and that is pure attitude right there. I think the very best do that, almost consistently across the board. They do not let anybody up easy. Number 10, I think this is probably the most important one. Again, these are all important, but for me, this is one that I really try to get across to anybody that I coach, my athletes at Palomar College. Always think positively. That means the score doesn't matter, right? Worrying about the crowd, the clock, the referees, him pushing you, him getting in your head. It doesn't matter as long as you just focus on wrestling from one position to the next and just doing what you can do and controlling what you can control. There's no reason to shut down. If you're losing 9-1, then get the next takedown. Then it's 9-3. Let him up, get another takedown, then you're crawling your way back in the match. Chances are you're going to wrestle this person again, and it's going to be a different story, right? As a coach, I see this every year. that one of our guys will beat somebody at the end of the year because they made these little tiny, incremental improvements and built that confidence to where they could come back and beat this person at the end of the year because they made that commitment to keep wrestling. All right, I hope you guys enjoyed these tips. This is just my perspective as both a competitor, longtime competitor, and head college wrestling coach out here at Palomar College. These are just tips that I've seen that when people focus on these things, they tend to wrestle in competition better, within the confines of a match. Thanks, guys. Take it easy.